Almost every sales book in the world teaches mirroring. Match their body language, match their energy, build rapport, become like them. And it only works about 25% of the time with people. I've trained over 950 sales teams, and I've watched this play out time and time again. Working with Tony Robbins, then running solo. Someone mirrors perfectly, does everything in the book, and the other person still walks away not totally bought in on what they're buying. I want to show you which personality type mirroring actually works on, and why it backfires on the other three, and what you should be doing instead. The reason this got into sales books is because most of the people writing those books come from the same personality type. There are 4 basic personality types: directors, connectors, mismatchers, and processors. Each one of them is influenced in different ways. Directors want an outcome quickly. Connectors want to know you personally before making a decision. Mismatchers always are going to give you the flip side of the coin and looking to be intellectual. And processors need reassurance through validation, as well as asking many detailed questions. The reason why most sales books talk about matching and mirroring is because the people writing those books naturally have a bias towards connectors because they themselves are connectors. We all have the natural ability to connect with people who are most like us. We naturally ignore the other 3 different personality types, and so those books are written in a leaning way to influence people like themselves, completely ignoring that there's 3 other personality types that get influenced in completely different ways. Matching and mirroring does make sense, and it can work. The problem is it only works if you used right with all 4 different personality types. The way most personality persuasion techniques are taught are completely wrong. Most sales trainers are connectors, so they teach the skill on how a connector would respond to it. For example, a connector likes to talk about personal things. They like to connect with you as an individual before making buying decisions. In fact, the way that they feel most comfortable making a buying decision is by getting to know you and trusting you before they trust your product or your service. Therefore, they talk about the weather, they talk about where they grew up, or they talk about in the morning their dog Fluffy, what that dog ate for breakfast, rather than getting straight to the point. Which leads me to those same rapport techniques don't work with directors because directors naturally know what they want before they even get on the call. They know their outcome, and what they're looking for is a direct ROI, a fast decision. For example, someone will get on a call and say, hey, I'm looking to get an ROI on your service in the next 3 to 4 months. A connector would naturally build rapport by saying, cool, tell me a little bit how you got here. Tell me about your story. Tell me about how you grew up. When in a director, all they want is to say, how am I going to get an ROI? A connector would influence a director more naturally if they said, hey, I understand that you're looking to get an ROI in the next 3 to 4 months. It sounds like you know exactly what you want. Let's dive straight in and not waste any time. Let's be effective with the time that we have here today. Naturally, a connector can influence a mismatcher if they poke holes in their own argument before the mismatcher has the opportunity to. A mismatcher naturally wants to get the flip side of the coin. They want to give a different version. They want to go against the grain, often to sound intellectual or smart, because they are. They are taught in their careers, think about like an Elon Musk, someone who's more of an engineer type. They're taught to look for inefficiencies and poke holes in arguments to get to the best outcome. So when you're influencing, if you use statements like all statements, all of our clients get big wins, the alarms will sound off in their head saying, there's no way that all clients can get wins. Tell me about a situation where clients haven't gotten wins. So one way that you would want to influence them by matching and mirroring is early on in the sales cycle saying, hey, about 85% of the people get the outcome that they're looking for. This doesn't work for everyone. It may not even work for you. What I'd like to discover on this call is if it makes sense for what you're looking for. This allows you to give them the flip side of the coin rather than talking about the personal things that are going on in your life. Then you have your processors and analyzers. They don't want to talk about personal things. Typically, they're a little bit more reserved. They want details. You would start off a call and build rapport with them by saying things like this. Hey, I understand that you're coming on this call with a lot of questions. My goal in this call is to just answer all the questions that you might have to make sure that we leave no stone left unturned and you have all the data and information you could possibly need to make a smart decision moving forward. What they're looking for is reassurance. Reassurance that they have all the details they need before making the decision. Think about this as an order of operations. A director wants to make the decision and figure out all the problems that go along with it to make that thing work after the decision is made. A processor wants to figure out all the problems and solutions before the decision's made. A mismatcher wants to know that the main points work and understands that there will be inefficiencies, but does it solve the majority of that problem? A connector wants to know that if I'm buying from you, I can actually trust that this would be a great buying decision. When influencing, you want to match and mirror in the way that that personality type needs it, rather than influencing them in the way that naturally comes off for you. I've actually been in rooms across the world in different sales trainings where I ask people to influence other different personality types in the room. And 9 times out of 10, the personality type that they influence the best comes down to the personality type that they are themselves, because that's their natural way of talking. Learning how to be somewhat of a chameleon in the conversations and the way that you speak to people will allow you to bob and weave in and out of those personality types and get along with most people and influence most people. By the way, if you want to understand these personality types just a little bit better, what to say versus what not to say to influence that person, I've created a cheat sheet that I'll link down below. You can go ahead and check that out to relieve some of the friction that you might be feeling in your sales cycles with the different personality types. Let me give you a real life example of how this shows up for business. We recently hired a sales professional on our team, and during the interview process, he asked a lot of questions about us personally and wanted to get to know us on an individual level. You would immediately identify him as a connector, and I would agree with you. Problem: as you know, there's different times in our business career where we get stressed. And during those stressful periods, a different personality type might actually become more dominant. In his case, when he experiences stress or uncomfort, he jumps into a director. And so when I match and mirror him when he's in a calm state or when things are going well, I'm going to ask about him personally. I'm going to ask how he's doing, his kids, his wife, his family. Likewise, if he's had a bad month or things are stressful for him personally, the first questions that I ask him are like, how quickly would you like to get through this today? Here are the 3 things that we need to cover during our manager sales call today. Outcome number 1, outcome number 2, and outcome number 3. Let's get straight to the point so you can get back to doing the things that you need to. Because I know in a stressful state, he brings more of his director out and he wants to be efficient with his time. That's what's going to feed his personality type the best in the moment. If you found this video helpful, then you're definitely going to want to check out the next one. I'll see you right here.